One time I think we tuned down for the first time, and Paul really, really tuned down, and we played, and we got a complaint from our neighbors that his daughter's bedroom kept shaking.
Like the
And
house
that's
away.
when we realized, like, wow, like this, like Paul's bass is like a weapon.
It is, yeah. No, it literally is. Like we played Skylark, and I was drinking a little bit. I was stupid, and I told everybody, "Get up on stage and fuck me up." And some guy actually did, and I smacked him in the face with my bass, right in his forehead, and his head started bleeding and everything. And so it is a weapon.
So it started off with me and Andy. We both really liked grindcore, and we decided we were just gonna do that. Uh, and I only had like a Fender Champion at the time with a heavy metal setting on it, so it didn't really sound that full or that big. And then Paul said or asked if he could jump in as bassist, and we were like, yeah, for sure. And then that gave it everything a more full sound. And then we started doing more shows, and then we ran into Nash. Nash wanted to jump in on guitar, so that gave it an even fuller sound. And we're still relatively new, but that's what's led up to today.
I started playing the drums when I was like in kindergarten. I'm a very hyper person, so I think my parents wanted an outlet that like wasn't like sport related, so they bought me a snare drum, and I started taking lessons, and it's kind of how. And I just started listening to like the music my dad listened to, like 80s rock, and like my sister listened to like Black Sabbath, and that's how I got into like metal stuff.
Yeah, sort of the same thing for me. Like my dad got me into it. He plays guitar and he plays bass, and so I would jam with him. And then I started out on drums, but then kind of learned some other ones along the way. But pretty much just copied whatever he did and got to where I am, just kind of pushing on that.
I went to a music conservatory when I was a kid, about since I was 8 years old. So I grew up playing like classical piano, and then just throughout the years I kept like being invested in music. So I eventually just wanted to create my own. So in high school I started like working on my own stuff. Then I picked up a guitar around like the end of high school, and that's when I got more into like hardcore music. Uh, and then more recently I've been making my own like hardcore metal type music.
Right, and now I'm in college, and I want to do something like in terms of academics too. But like I've always just kind of seen these like metal shows and be like, wow, I want to be on stage like playing music that makes people want to like try and kill each other. I think that's really cool. So that's been my main motivation.
Usually, what would happen would I would come in with a certain set of riffs, and then we just kind of like a puzzle piece. You just find out what riff goes good in contrast with the other one right after each other, and then how do we transition into that? Uh, how do we flow? How do we make everything flow in a way that's shocking, surprising, interesting? And the whole band has like a pretty pivotal role in that. We have these ideas, we have these riffs that were set, we think sound good. How do we make a composition out of this amalgamation of riffs and musical ideas? So it's a lot of just trial and error. That doesn't sound good. This does sound good. And sometimes you can come into it with a concept, but a lot of the times, if you try to force something super hard, try to force a certain part to go after this part that you think in your head might work, you come to find out in reality it sounds kind of flat and dull and weird. So it's a lot of trial and error, and just like kind of, it's a lot of random stuff. That's just how creativity is, I think.
Yeah, so far, so I only joined the band about 3 months ago or so. So most of my work in the writing process has been like adding lead parts to the songs that are already existing, and then like I've made a few riffs for future songs, but we haven't really like gone into that as of yet because we're working on like perfecting what we have so far.
Yeah, I think it was a little difficult at first because like we all kind of like different genres, so like we were all putting in our own input. And I like metal bands where you can necessarily there's like I like the dynamic we create where at some points you can't hear him and he blends in with Kai where it's his heaviness, but then there will be these subtle like I don't know how to explain like licks where you can like you tell that he's there. So being able to do that without it sounding weird and kind of funky took a while, but like eventually, like I think recently, especially since making this EP and looking back at the stuff that like Nash has been mixing and Paul has been mixing, like it feels really like accomplishing to be able to hear like we can set us kind of like put all of our music tastes in like one pool and just like mix it until it sounds like really refined.
I think that the best artists steal, and just figuring out how do we capture the magic of music we see with everything else within our means, within what our aesthetic is, within what we're trying to do.
Me and Paul don't really listen to the same type of metal like we really make. Like I'm more so listening to like electronic hardcore and new metal and stuff like that. And just like having all those genres blended into one, we don't like to really limit ourselves to a specific genre or like a specific thing we want to create. We're just trying to like express something new.
Because one second you're a normal human being, then the other second you're like playing this show and there's people freaking out and like you're totally locked in with your other band members, and it's a totally surreal sort of thing, you know?
Performing live for me is definitely difficult because I'm on vocals and then I'm on guitar too, so I have to focus on the delivery of what I'm saying, the lyrics or what have you, and the guitar. A lot of times I forget my lyrics and I just make things up because it's borderline impossible to remember all that, and then also have a stage presence at the same time.
Even if we have a bad show, it's like I'm while I'm young, I want to be able to play hard music and like wear my body out no matter who's watching or who's looking. Like I'm gonna take this time to like this is like drumming is my outlet.
Balancing a band, which I think of as like, it's a smaller business. It's a lot that you have to invest into. It's marketing, it's sales, it's creativity, it's ideas, all of that. Balancing that with going to school, which is a big commitment as well. It's you're going to classes and you have homework, you have projects, things like that. It's a lot on your plate. So the time management is a big skill that really tests whether you can keep up with everything.
It's pretty hard balancing both music and a personal life and work and stuff like that, because like even in music there's different things like I want to do. Like I have a few different projects that I'm working on, and like just balancing it all is like you really have to know what you have to do and when, and build like a structured time.
I think it helps being surrounded by like-minded people. Overall, like the dream of making it and being successful is something that is very, very hard to tackle alone. And it seems more so like we're more invested in seeing all of us succeed rather than just one of us. I think that's really where the fuel comes from, is from the people around you.
Like what my plan is to have this EP be our leaping stone. Like a lot of the times it's hard to like grow when people can't listen to your music. So the main reason we're creating this EP is so people can like hear us and then also come back and also just listen to us in a separate setting.
It's a milestone for sure, because this is our first recorded thing that we're going to put on the internet for it to be there forever under our name. So that's a big thing. And again, it's not end all be all because there's obviously a future after this. I think that it's really just a continuation of what we've been doing, of this is what worked, this is what didn't. Uh, you know, how do we want to keep with this direction? Do we want to move off in a different direction? I'm excited for it, and I'm especially excited to see how people receive it, because everything that people say, good or bad, is worth listening to, and I think it's going to be a great map for what we should do in the future.
Like what me and Andy are really like working on for the EP is building a concept and a theme. And I think like even through a live performance, having it be as immersive as possible and building an atmosphere and having them fully involved in the set is really important.